Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here today, and I think it would be a nice way to start by unpacking this term "comeback cities." We're fortunate now that we began our lives in America where we were fighting against the common idea that cities were in the past. Now we're fighting on our turf, which is great. But what are we trying to come back to? Let's talk about your different cities in Milwaukee, Philadelphia. Lieutenant Governor, you're all over New York, but you're especially focused in Buffalo, which is where you're from. All of these are cities that have a great legacy, but they're not what you want to be in the future solely. What is it that you build on in your legacy of your city, and what are you really trying to come back to the future on?
I'm happy to take that because Buffalo, you have to know where we came from to know how far we went down, and now we're coming back. So in 1901, I saw the video we were talking about lighting up cities. Buffalo was called the City of Light because we were the first electrified city in America. And we had more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the country. We were the 5th largest port, 8th largest in population. 8 million people came from around the world to the Pan American exhibition to see this electrified magical city. That was our heyday, 1901. We peaked in 1950 with our population, almost 600,000. Strong industrial base, manufacturing, particularly steel industry. Bethlehem Steel is our largest employer. And all of a sudden, the 50-year decline hit. Whether it was the St. Lawrence Seaway making our port obsolete, basically, whether it was the foreign steel challenges and competition, we hit a slump. And I was just talking to someone backstage who said they were there 10 years ago. It was pretty bad. I said it was bad until 3 years ago. And so we are not trying to go back to being a place where there's manufacturers of 50,000 people, 20,000. We're not going to get there. It's about right-sizing our economy, and our governor, Andrew Cuomo, figured out how to do that. So there's an exciting story to tell when you invest in a community like Buffalo and say, we believe in your future. The people gave up hope, I will tell you right now, and it wasn't just losing 4 Super Bowls. We had a rough time independent of that, so I'll get over that someday, I swear. But our psychology was down in the dumps. I mean, everybody you talk to, there was no pride of saying you're from Buffalo for decades. That's what I grew up in. That's why my kids left, my siblings left, my parents left. It was a hard-hit area. But and I'll give you the details in a few minutes, but our governor 3 or 4 years ago said, we are turning around Buffalo. If we can turn around a place with one of the highest poverty rates in America, highest unemployment, we can do it there, we can do it anywhere.
Mayor, what's the legacy of Philadelphia? What's the future?
Well, of course, Philadelphia is one of the original startups in the United States of America, birthplace of freedom, liberty, and democracy. I'm glad that Ben Franklin lent Buffalo electricity, having founded it in Philadelphia. No, I mean, we share our stuff. And so, first capital of the United States of America, first hospital, first zoo. I mean, the city of firsts all over the place. But much like, you kind of fast forward, peaked population in 1950, about 60 years of population lost, as many of the great old industrial cities in the Northeast experienced. People moving to the suburbs, further expansion through federal highway system. People just moved all over the place. So we've had to reinvent ourselves on a number of occasions. Philadelphia was a workshop to the world. We built everything from Baldwin locomotives to Stetson hats and everything in between. And so that population loss led to a number of financial challenges that our city faced and started to, kind of get itself together. Then we had our own financial challenge way before the Great Recession in the 1990s. I came into City Council in 1992. We worked through that process with our then mayor, Ed Rendell. And then the world economic crisis hit again shortly after I came into office in 2008. We've had 8 straight years of population growth in the city of Philadelphia, starting in 2007. We've had the largest percentage increase of millennial population of any big city in the United States of America. We're one of the few cities coming out of the recession that was actually upgraded by the rating agencies. We actually have an A rating by all 3 rating agencies, first time that's happened in over 40 years. And we're at 40-year lows in terms of homicide and violent crime in the city of Philadelphia. So, I mean, we were talking in the back. I mean, we're not trying to go back to, the 1940s. We're actually more focused on 2040. And how do we move a great northeastern American city up in the national environment as well as to be a great international city. And I'll talk about some of those things, but we really play on the strengths that we have. Education, medicine, biopharmaceutical, life sciences. 35% of the jobs in Philadelphia are tied to education and medicine. So we use that as a strength. We promote our history, but also the kind of growing cosmopolitan and Renaissance future for the city of Philadelphia. Huffington Post declared the other day that Philadelphia is the coolest city in America. I support that.
I'll challenge you in January in Minneapolis, but good for you.
All right.
Well, Milwaukee.
I'm from Milwaukee. How many know where Milwaukee is? Well, you know, we're known for Fonzie, you know, Laverne and Shirley, beer, cheese, Green Bay Packers, and we have won a few, and we rock. Although last year was not the best year. But I'll tell you, you know, we are manufacturing, and you're going to hear me speak a lot about manufacturing and the stigma about manufacturing, which is hurting us, frankly. We're not where your two cities are. We're kind of in the beginning of this transformation. But there's had been a lot of stability in Milwaukee. There's a really cool map that the Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes, and it shows the country and how the industries have changed from 1990 to 2013. And what's really cool is Wisconsin doesn't change. It's blue, which is the color for manufacturing. And so that's the stability. That's the foundation of the state, and as well as some of the other service industries. But for us, where we're moving forward is, you know, the make economy and what it looks like, and it will be different than it did before. Manufacturing can be hugely successful in our city, and it's making a comeback, but we need a little help in that matter. We need teachers to actually advocate two-year technical schools, understand that these are family-sustaining jobs. Hardly hourly workers make family-sustaining jobs. They can make six figures with overtime. And, you know, what we're finding is a real bias against manufacturing. Counselors, irrespective of the aptitude of the students, are pushing them away from technical schools and into four-year schools. So one of our challenges and one of the things that we're working with and where we see the future is this make economy, you know, because make feels better to people than manufacturing for some reason. And it's going in a really cool way. We have millennials that have startup businesses in Milwaukee now that, you know, mentor with some of our engineers and some of other corporate citizens in Milwaukee, their engineers, to bring that make economy back. So manufacturing is where we were. Manufacturing will be where we go, but it'll be a different manufacturing. It'll be more innovative, more creative, and it'll be different products. And that's what we're encouraging, and that's what we're seeing coming back in a real way.
Let's stay on this for a second, this whole issue of making, because, you know, great cities aren't built on condos and coffee shops alone. We have to make things. That's how all these cities came. But each of these cities is at a different progression in their manufacturing. You know, my city of Minneapolis, General Mills isn't a mill anymore. They market Cheerios. 3M isn't Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. They market Scotch tape. Our city went through this transition 100 years ago. Each city is in different places. Detroit, we're going to hear about, is doing great maker work, but they're never going to make as many automobiles as they used to. Each of your cities are the same. How do you deal with this in talking with, you know, a mayor and a lieutenant governor, with constituents, with you, with the business community? How do you right-size people's expectations for what the reality of what we're going to make in cities is and what the part of the service economy is?
Well, one of the ways I tried to take that on, again, Philadelphia, great manufacturing history. But as Tony said, today's manufacturing is a little different than, you know, we talk about, you know, your father's Oldsmobile. It is very different. But, you know, when you look at a company in Philadelphia like Northeast Building Products, I mean, they make screen doors and energy-efficient windows. And we brought a group of students in to see that process. They were thrilled out of their minds that they could watch on the line from product coming in the door, raw product, to out the door in a box, going into someone's home that you're actually going to buy at, you know, Home Depot or Lowe's or any of those stores. And so it puts a very different perspective on it. What I did as mayor, working with City Council and the business community, is created the Mayor's Manufacturing Task Force for Philadelphia to develop a plan for us to further strengthen our manufacturing sector in the city of Philadelphia. Recommendations, real plans. I then created an Office of Manufacturing, Industry Manufacturing for the city, staffed it with a person. So we're going to be very, very aggressive in that area. Augusta Westland makes helicopters in Philadelphia, and as a result of some of the things we're doing, they actually have expanded their plant, and they're making a new helicopter in Philadelphia for production all across the United States and around the world. So manufacturing, if you put a focus on it, it's a real job, right? It's not all, you know, kind of grit and grim and dirty hands all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's about being able to read and write and calculate and read plans. This is very serious and high-level work, and you will make a lot of money. And so I think teachers and counselors and others really need to get with the 21st century manufacturing as opposed to the 18th century manufacturing and what it's about.
And I have to tell you, so if you go in our facilities, you're not talking about a place that's greasy and dirty and gross. Our facilities look better than my living room. I'm going to be honest with you, because there's safety issues, and so you have to have it clean. And I will tell you, they will be our employees, including management's, penalized if they're not. All right? The other thing is, it's not taking a screw from a tray, putting it in a motorcycle, taking another screw and putting it in a tray. You have to be very smart, because we do more than one product on that line, more than one model of our motorcycles on the line. So you have to be smart enough to figure out this is what's coming down the line. You have to be aware of scrap. You have to be aware of your time. I mean, these are smart jobs. And they require people who are engaged, who care about the product, who have a sense of engagement about what they're doing and the product they're delivering. And more than that, they are building products for whom people get on, and they could be a safety issue if they don't have high quality. And I have to tell you, our employees care deeply about that. And we're just one facility across the country, and I would tell you, if you go into manufacturing plants around the country, you will find similar plants where they care about cleanliness. Lean manufacturing is big. In fact, let me tell you, they have 5S, and I don't know if I should do that in my kids' room. 5S is you take a broom, and you have tape on the wall where that broom goes. And that's where you'll see it. And it's off the floor, and everything is clean. So if we can have a different perspective about what manufacturing is, we can change the paradigm, because it is huge.
I agree with that as well. And in order to jumpstart a place as hard hit as Buffalo, Governor Cuomo had to basically put $1 billion on the table. He said that I want this community to devise their own vision. I don't want this to come from our state capitol. You get together with academia, our business leaders, our progressive business leaders, not the ones who held us back. Get together with our philanthropic community, labor, everyone at the table. You come up with a vision, and I'll fund it. And what this community did was had a hard look at themselves. It's kind of painful. Your self-evaluation, what are our assets, what are our liabilities, our strengths. So what we did was we identified 3 major sectors, and one was high-tech manufacturing. So how are we going to get high-tech manufacturing to come to Buffalo? Now, we knew we had the work ethic. People had worked in manufacturing all their lives, but those jobs are gone. So what he did was he said a place like Solar City, Elon Musk got enticed to come to Buffalo because our governor said, I'm going to put $750 million on the table. We will own the property. We are building a 1.2 million square foot facility for Solar City to manufacture solar panels in Buffalo, New York. They will have the largest solar panel manufacturing facility in North America. 3,000 jobs are coming. I rode my bike past it the other day, and this is exciting. This is on the site of a former steel plant. First thing we have to do is contact our community colleges and our high schools and say, are you ready to train those workers to go into this? And we wanted to make sure it was also on a transit line, because how are we going to get kids from the inner city of Buffalo to be able to get a job if they have to go out to the suburbs? They don't have cars. So what we did was make sure that people could access these jobs. So that's just one example how we had to leverage it. So Solar City's putting up $5 billion. We are putting in $750. And at the end of the day, the state of New York, the taxpayers of New York are going to own the premises. And we did that with high-tech hub as well. I just was at a ribbon cutting last week for IBM. 500 jobs coming to Buffalo because of this idea that the governor had. And those are people that would never have come here if the state of New York didn't say we're going to put money on the table. So it's tough to do. A lot of other cities were jealous when Buffalo was getting this attention, but the governor had to have an incubator, a place where he said, if we invest money, they will come. And he wanted to have a 5-to-1 private sector to public sector leverage ratio. Guess what? It's 6.5 to 1. Now there's more private sector money coming to Buffalo than ever before. $11 billion in just a short time. We're going to have 20,000 jobs in a phenomenally short time. That's the kind of bold leadership that it took to turn around in Buffalo, and we can do it elsewhere.
Let's talk about assets. You talked about that, and we're talking now, we've talked about the physical assets, but let's talk about people. When people asked me about the city of Minneapolis, I said, look, we're the most globally competent city in America because we've been a humanitarian center. We've welcomed immigrants from all sorts of places, largest Somali population outside of Mogadishu, et cetera, et cetera. That makes our population more able to cross cultural barriers than in a lot of other cities. Most of the time when we're talking about urban centers, we're talking from a deficit standpoint. Talk about the populations that you're dealing with. What are the unique populations in each of your places that help you compete?
Well, part of the reason we've had this population growth over the last few years, I mean, it's really three basic constituencies. I talked about millennials earlier, empty nesters from the suburbs, you know, kind of had a big house, a lot of kids move, still got the big house, deal with snow, cut the grass, et cetera, and you're spending a lot of time in Philadelphia anyway. Ultimately, why don't I just move to the city, get rid of my car, we have 500 miles of bike lanes, one of the most walkable, bikeable cities in the United States of America, on a grid system. Billy Penn really laid it out well, and it's a green country town. So one of our huge assets is land and open space, which we now utilize for our Green City Clean Waters program, which is our stormwater management program for the city of Philadelphia. These are natural assets. We didn't have to create them. They're there, but it's also part of the amenities of what city life is really all about, and it's helping to attract folks to come. And then it's the immigrant population from many, many countries. So a 50% increase in the Hispanic and Latino population from 2000 to the 2010 census. We welcome 35 different consul generals and nations represented in the city of Philadelphia, 100 different languages spoken in the city, and I signed executive orders to make the city much more immigrant friendly. And so if you call us on our 311 line, we can connect you with operators and translation services for about 150 different languages. We're required by executive order to produce materials in at least 12 different languages so that people feel welcome in the city of Philadelphia, and that just builds on itself.
Well, I'm going to give a different perspective for Milwaukee because it's not bright and sunshiny like that. I'm just going to be honest. We need people to come to Milwaukee. We have a hard time attracting talent, frankly. Not a lot is known about Milwaukee. It's a hard place. It's viewed to be a hard place if you're single. Getting talent right out of school is hard. Now, we have it a little easier in that the brand attracts talent. But I would say that is one of our challenges, and one of the challenges for the state, the millennials. I love millennials, and let me just do a shout out to millennials, because I am not one of these people that think they need to change or be anything different than they are, because they're wonderful, and they are leaders of the future, and I need more of them, so I will welcome them, yes. And I'll tell you another thing that's a little bit controversial, so I hope I can go back to Milwaukee. With all the education initiatives, they're all geared towards four-year schools, even in the inner city, where they're trying to, attack the achievement gap. But here's the deal, and this is, again, me. There's only a certain percentage of those kids that are going to go to college. And then what's left with the rest of them? Well, I'll tell you, I need them, because one of my biggest fears is that I'm not going to have employees on the line to actually make motorcycles. Yes, engineers are hard to find, but I will tell you, all the forecasting says skilled labor is going to be very hard to find. And so for us, the challenge has been, along with some of the other corporations, to get into these schools and take the other 80% and make them viable employees. And I will tell you, even in the criminal population, if you can buy or be a criminal, buy, sell, do whatever you're not supposed to do, you understand economics, you understand math, you understand supply side better than anybody, some of my best employees. So what we need to do is really figure out how to make the resources we have available to us and welcome them as a community, and do what we can to train them and let them understand, and their families, that these are good jobs. And that's our big challenge. Now, it's a great city. It's a beautiful city. You should come for Summerfest. It's coming up. It's great. It's a music festival. But
yeah, I agree with Tanya. I think there has always been a stigma to manufacturing. And I always go to these schools, and I talk to them. I said, it's not my grandpa's job at the Bethlehem Steel Plant, where grandma packed him up the lunch pail, and he went off to work and worked the 311 shift. And he came from Ireland and found a good life there, like many did. It's not that at all. These people are putting on lab coats. They're using their hands and their minds. So I've done, even when I was in Congress, I would spend so much time saying, we have to relabel this. Millennials, help us out. How do we rebrand manufacturing to something exciting? Because that's where the jobs are. I remember meeting this young woman in a BOCES program who was learning welding in high school, 18 years old. And she was in a welding class, and there was a wait list for employers, for the welders to come out of here. I said, how much are you going to make when you graduate in a couple months? She says, I've got a job waiting for me for $60,000. And I thought, if she marries one of these little kids, the other young man in the class she's flirting with, figure out what they're going to, $120,000 a year. They're going to have Buffalo Bills season tickets. They're going to Disney World every year, and they're going to get a great house in Buffalo. So you don't need to make a lot of money to live the American dream in some of these cities. Yes. And so we have to get the kids excited about this. And that is what's going on in Buffalo, as we figure that out. And not everybody's going to go to a four-year college. It's just not happening. But we have to get them when they're in high school, and this is where the businesses can step up and do an amazing job for us. If you adopt a high school and say, like I saw in Newburgh, Newburgh is a hard-hit city south of, a little bit north of New York City. It has got a 49% Latino population, 32% black population, the rest mixed, a few whites thrown in. It is a tough, tough area. And I went there, and these kids have been adopted into class, 850 of them, by IBM. And IBM is going to make sure that they get a 2-year college degree before they leave high school and promise them jobs when they leave. Just think if every business in America cared that much about their community, that they would set up that kind of program that we have in New York State with Governor Cuomo. That's transformative. But I spend a lot of time saying manufacturing is cool, it's hip, but help me rebrand it.
All right, so we've got a time issue, so we're going to do a quick lightning round. I want you to give one good idea for these people to bring back to their cities.
I would say, I just got to tell you, Harley-Davidson, for a colloquial term, is in the ghetto, the hood, the core, you name it. That's where we are. That's the corporate headquarters, and that is a truthism. But what Lieutenant Governor just said is, if you can take anything back to your corporations, if they can, one of our mission statement is that we enhance the communities in which we have facilities. We have always had that as a mission statement. It wasn't about CSR. It's not about activism. It's just because that's who we are. And if you could take that back and have your corporations do exactly what Lieutenant Governor said, go into the communities and make it a real part of how they do business. Volunteerism, so a lot of our employees don't even live in the neighborhoods, but they go and they volunteer in this neighborhood. We have programs to get them to buy houses in the neighborhood. We do adopt schools in the neighborhood. And it's a real thing for us, and we do it because we don't really care if any of you know about it. We do it because we think it's the right thing to do. And that goes a long way to building hope for these young people that are in the community, because when they see the corporations, it gives them a chance to dare to think about what could be. And that's really, really important.
Mayor and Lieutenant Governor, quick lightning round. One big, no, great, wonderful.
Well, as an elected official, I can't give you one, but I'm going to give you 3 quick ones. Go back home and make sure that your mayor, whoever he or she is, make sure that they are actively engaged in education, whether they're in charge of the school system or not, because they're your kids. Second, you should contact my wife's organization, Philadelphia Academies, to see what the Academies program is doing in Philadelphia and the Academies model is doing all across the United States of America. That's Lisa Nutter. Last, Shane Alubadon owns a company, Duke and Winston. I'm rocking a Duke and Winston tie. It's a Philadelphia entrepreneur. We support entrepreneurial activities, small, medium, and large, not only on the manufacturing side, as we've talked about, but entrepreneurs all across the United States of America. Again, they will help bring cities back, and that's what many of the millennials are doing.
Nice time, Mayor. Couple things. Again, I'm a politician too, so you're not going to limit me to one. Demand bold leadership from your elected officials. I've been elected official, local, county, federal, and state. And you should demand bold leadership, because that's what transformed upstate New York with Governor Cuomo. Truly, you need to get in there and just shake some heads up. Don't settle for the status quo. It doesn't work anymore. The status quo has got us where we are, and that was not a good place. So demand that. The other thing I would say is you need to do something earth-shaking. The governor put together the largest business plan competition in the world out of Buffalo. We called it 43 North. He put $5 million on the table, 2,600 applicants from around the world, 95 countries, every state in the nation competed for the chance to do a startup in Buffalo, New York, on the shores of Lake Erie. With our cold winters, they could not wait to get there because they had this opportunity. 11 of them stayed. We are now incubating them. They have mentors, and we're having success. We're changing our reputation to being a startup capital of the country. Sorry, you're going to have to give up that reputation. We took it over.
Let's hear it for cities and their leaders. Thank you.